Call the Wilmer City Council meeting to order for Monday, June 21st. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin.
Here.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Here.
Osmus. Butterfield.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Osk.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Plowman. Nelson.
Here.
7 present, 2 absent.
Osmus is excused. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Seeing and hearing none, I'd take a motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion. Roll call. I'm sorry. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Next, we have consent items. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on tonight's consent agenda, we have for council's approval the city council minutes of June 7th, Wilmer Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of June 14th, Rice Hospital Board minutes of December 2nd of 2020, Rice Hospital Board minutes of March 3rd, 2021, Human Rights Commission appointment of Jonathan Dahl, the accounts payable report of May 27 through June 10, miscellaneous finance reports, 2022 budget calendar for council's acceptance, the police commission minutes of April 22nd, charter commission minutes of May 11th, human rights commission minutes of March 16th, and for council's information, the police department statistics for the month of May 2021.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent items. Discussion.
Mayor, I think she said Jonathan Dahl, but didn't hear her say John Kellen.
Yes, he pulled his name.
He did.
Yes. He has some family issues that he's dealing with right now. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I just wondered if we could pull H and just have a conversation, quick conversation.
Okay. With the exception of item H, there's been a motion that's been made and seconded to approve. All in favor? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes. 5 ayes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes, sorry. 0 nays. Can't count tonight.
That resolution passes. Councilmember Nelson on the 2022 budget calendar.
Thank you. I just wondered if it would be possible for the council to have a meeting sometime in preparation of the budget to set priorities and just have a discussion about some of the items that were on there. I didn't know what the plan was.
We were adopting the budget calendar. I
Yes.
met with staff. The requirement is that the mayor meets with staff prior to presenting the budget calendar, so I did that last week. I met with our interim administrator and our finance director, and we were forwarding it here. If you have a recommendation on what you'd like to see, certainly willing to have that conversation. What are you requesting?
I just think that the council hasn't set a priority session for, can you remember last time, 2000, when we did it, that it would be helpful that would be done, not necessarily that it fits on the budget calendar, but somehow to help us prepare for next year's budget, receiving next year's budget, and perhaps to have a conversation about some capital improvement things. So, and I'm asking the question because I don't know where it's appropriate to ask the question.
My goal was going to be, once we got a city administrator, to try to have another retreat, to have a goal-setting session at that time. The budgets, staff is working on the budgets currently, and I believe they're due back to the finance department within 5 weeks. Is my timing correct on that? In
Pretty close.
In about 5 weeks, they're due back to the finance committee. I'm sorry, back to the finance department. And then myself and the administrator and the finance director will be working on tweaking those budgets.
I'm good with that. I think if you're planning on doing some sort of retreat, I'm fine with that. I just think we've talked about some priorities that we haven't reviewed for a long time. So however it fits into that, I'm open to that, so.
Interim Administrator Herron.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. Mr. Okins, when he put this budget together, if you look under July, in the outline dates, there is an opportunity for a council work session on the capital improvement programs. So at that meeting, that would give the councils an opportunity to provide input and prioritize capital projects as proposed by staff.
I will make a motion to approve the budget calendar.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the 2022 budget calendar. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion does carry. Next, we have a public hearing to amend ordinance section 17-32 discharge prohibitions.
That's right.
I killed it last meeting. I was trying to see if I could do a little bit better this meeting. So with that, I'll open the public hearing. The call-in number, if the public wishes to speak, and you have to dial all 10 numbers, is 320-335-7135. Go ahead, Ms. Sietsma.
Mayor and members of the council, tonight we have a public hearing to amend Ordinance Chapter 17, Article 3, Section 17-32, which discusses discharges to stormwater that are prohibited. Again, this amendment is necessary to include additional specific materials that are prohibited from being discharged and that would be deemed an illicit discharge. And this, again, came about due to changes in the most recent issuance of the state's stormwater general permit, which requires cities to develop, implement, and enforce a regulatory mechanism, such as an ordinance that prohibits non-stormwater discharges into our municipal separate storm sewer system. So the proposed changes are adding numbers 3 and 4 to the prohibition of illicit discharges narrative.
Could you read those for us, please?
No person shall deposit grass clippings, leaves, tree branches, or other vegetative materials in or upon any driveway, parking area, street, alley, sidewalk, component of the storm drainage system, or water of the state. No person shall deposit grass clippings, leaves, tree branches, or other vegetative materials within natural or human-made watercourses, wetlands, or within wetland buffer areas unless such materials originated from routine, periodic, or seasonal mowing or weed control of vegetation growing in the same area. Nothing herein shall be interpreted as preventing those residents who prefer to collect grass clippings, leaves, tree branches, or other vegetative materials from their properties from transporting such materials to any brush site owned or operated by the city and available for residents to dispose of such materials pursuant to the rules and procedures established by the city for any such site. Such materials are otherwise prohibited from being transported to or disposed of on any property on which the materials did not originate. No person shall throw, deposit, or leave in or upon any driveway, parking area, street, alley, sidewalk, component of the storm drainage system, or water of the state, any chemicals, including but not limited to fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides, petroleum-based products, including but not limited to gasoline, oil, fuels, solvents, and paints, excess salt, sand, or other materials for snow and ice removal.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak to this ordinance amendment? Dave, do we have any callers?
Mr. Mayor, at this time, we do not have any callers.
Thank you. With that, I'll close the public hearing, bring it to council table. Council, what are your wishes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the amended ordinance section 17-32 discharge prohibitions. Discussion. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
So if someone is found doing something wrong here, what's the penalty then?
To be honest, I don't know that we are looking to penalize people. I think our approach is going to be, unless there's repetitive, egregious instances, we want to do education. We want to tell people that this doesn't belong in stormwater, this goes directly to our lakes, and education generally in these circumstances will take care of our issues. If people don't know, they can't do better. So that's what we're looking at here. Again, it is required by our MS4 permit to have an ordinance prohibiting this. So it is similar to everything else already in our stormwater ordinance, but it isn't staff's intention to have penalties for this.
Okay. And then there are a lot of lawn services in the area. Are you sending out notices then that we just will be adopting this, I'm sure?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we want to hit all of, like you said, the lawn services, and then use our website and our social media and stuff to make sure that residents are aware of it too. But again, it'll be a lot of, if staff, if Public Works sees something, or the engineering department, whoever's out in the field, if they see them and they can just stop and chat with them, we'll get word of mouth out that way too with this change.
Okay, because driving the other day by a bank, they were mowing into the street.
And we do see that, especially with lawn service companies, that if that's just the fastest or the easiest way at the time for whatever the property looks like, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes they are the ones going back and blowing it back into the yard or sweeping it up or something like that too. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just for the council's information, a violation of this ordinance or any other provision in the stormwater ordinance, just like any violation of generally any city ordinance, is a misdemeanor and could be charged. That was, staff's approach is not to emphasize enforcement in that manner, and I think that's the right approach. But the council should know there are options available if there's evidence of repeated offenders violating these provisions.
So it shouldn't have to come back to us then if there's a lot of people that are getting caught abusing this. It's already in the statute then. It'd be a misdemeanor.
That's correct, yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. I was going to ask that same question of what we could do to help staff if we have chronic people, or if they know that it's not going to be enforced. Is there something else that we should look at? But I think Mr. Scott answered that, but I would encourage our staff that if it is a continued problem, that we find another way to make sure people have a reason to follow it. So.
Okay, additional comments or questions? Councilmember O'Brien.
I've learned over time that a lot of times violations are because of lack of education. So is there any way that we can have some education programs for these organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we'll develop those. We have educational materials and brochures and handouts for some of our other stormwater topics, in fact, we even have some that do cover grass clippings just without the ordinance language and enforcement mechanisms included in it. But yeah, that will be the intent for the next year, maybe 2 years. We'll kind of see what the problem looks like and what the response is when we're having those conversations.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember.
I'm sorry. Mr. Scott, this takes 5 votes, is that correct?
That is correct.
Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
That amendment to the ordinance passes. Sarah, thank you for your work. It's always a pleasure to do work with you. You do such wonderful work, so keep it
I
up.
appreciate, well, I will be back with more this year, so I appreciate that.
Well, don't push your luck. Okay, next we have a Wilmerfest presentation, Mr. James Miller and the present royalty. Mr. Miller.
Mayor Kelvin, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Wilmerfest. As you said, I'm James Miller. I am the board chair, president, chief knucklehead in charge of Wilmerfest, and we are very excited this year to be celebrating our 75th celebration. Unfortunately, it took us 76 years to celebrate our 75th because of last year's, we'll call it gap year, as the college students are when they take that year off after high school. This was our gap year, so we are very excited to be able to come back and gather together once again to celebrate Wilmerfest. Before you, I handed out a schedule of the events for this year's festivities. I'd like to just run by a couple of those, but before I do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, since it has been some time since we've been here on behalf of Wilmerfest, to talk just briefly about Celebrate the Light of the World this year. And for those of you that do know, we were able to raise over $117,000 at this year's event out at Robbins Island. And we really haven't had the opportunity to come back and recap that, but those donations, 100% of the donations went to 4 area nonprofits. United Way of West Central Minnesota, the Candiwai County Food Shelf, Habitat for Humanity of West Central Minnesota, and the Salvation Army in Wilmer. And that is not without the support of the City of Wilmer, the Public Works Department, the PD, the Fire Department, really everybody involved in the city. And we do truly appreciate the support, but also the opportunity to be able to host this event out at that jewel that is Robbins Island as it continues to become better and better every day, which is exciting. We also would like to thank you again for your support for all the years. I was discussing just briefly with Interim Administrator Herron about many cities don't have that support from their city councils. Sometimes they're even at odds with the city celebration and festival, and we do appreciate your support, both financially, but more importantly from the great people that work for the city, the staff that is here to help us. Gary Manzer and his team, I cannot thank them enough for all that they do to help get the city prepared, day in and day out, but even during our Winterfest week, adding on those extra duties of helping with that. Again, our PD, our fire department, all those involved with making sure that we're able to get together and celebrate safely and have a little bit of fun as the city of Wilmer. That's really what we enjoy doing, is celebrating this great city. I was born here, I was raised here, and I work here and pray here every single day, and I'm really proud to be able to do that and to be able to promote the city, not only when we're here, but when we're out and about. And that's what these three young ladies have had the opportunity to do, not for a year, but for 2 years, because we asked them to stay around last year when we were unable to get together and celebrate. They'll get a chance to talk to you just briefly about some of the fun that they've been able to do and where they've been able to go to talk about the city of Wilmer and promote city throughout our state and even internationally, and that's a pretty exciting opportunity. As you can see from our scheduled events, we do start this Wednesday with an opportunity, harkening back 75 years to Coffee Fest, to have a little coffee with the candidates. They'll be able to celebrate that again this Wednesday morning. We'll crown our senior ambassadors Wednesday afternoon over at the community center. We've added a fun new event this year. We're actually going to do a royalty ride with Bike Wilmer and Wilmer Bikes. Our candidates and our royalty are going to ride bikes from the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Center out to Robbins Island for the Pie and Ice Cream Social and for the Prairie Wind Summer Band concert. Thursday, we have a Royal Story Time at Miller Park. Typically, we've done that at the Wilmer Public Library, but this year we're going to do it outside, and knock on wood, please, that the weather holds, and we have a wonderful day out at Miller Park on Thursday. The block party does return. We're saddened to hear about the loss of the Wilmer JCs, but we were able to meet with them and pick up the pieces and continue that tradition that is the block party with a fun additional event this year. Again, we've had a lot of fun raising money and supporting nonprofits with Celebrate the Light of the World. We love to show off and support some of those nonprofits as well as part of Wilmerfest. And this year, we are having a dunk tank at the block party. Myself, Mike Kubish from Wilmer Bus, who's also on our board, along with Chief Frank Hansen from the Fire Department, and Mayor Kelvin will sit in the dunk tank, amongst a few others. Brielle's going to be in there as well, and maybe Abby and Maddie for sure. So you'll have an opportunity to come and try to dunk the mayor. All the proceeds that we raise from that are going to go to Hope for Our City. the incredible grocery giveaway that they do on Wednesday evenings. And we know that'll go a long ways. I talked to Don Klaus today. Her and her family are on vacation, and I think she cried on the phone. She was so excited about it. And again, that's that opportunity to show off the great work that's happening. We also have partnered with Chris Radel from Municipal Utilities, but not for his Municipal Utilities hat so much as his gaming hat. And we are having a Smash Fest at Spurs where they'll have a competition playing Super Smash Brothers. So again, just one of the additional things that we're doing as part of the block party to show off the different things happening. Councilmember Oskar, you're going to be there?
I majored in that in college.
Okay, all right. I like that. We'll have to get you signed up. On Friday, we have the Wilmerfest Chamber Connection in the morning over at Heritage Bank. They graciously are going to host us. We cap off that night with the Wilmer Stingers baseball game at Baker Diamond. I would ask that each of you as council members, if at all possible, can attend that game and represent the city of Wilmer with our visiting dignitaries and royalty that will be here. Many of those will come in on Friday afternoon and be at the game with us. So it'll be an opportunity for you to rub shoulders and elbows with them, talk about the city, meet them and greet them, and again, thank them for coming to Wilmer to be part of our celebration. We're very honored and proud to have dignitaries from really all over the state. Aquatennial will be here. We've got a great relationship with them. The crew from South Dakota and the Snow Week Festival will also be here. So great opportunities for you to meet and greet a lot of those dignitaries that do come to our city. We have provided tickets for you and a guest, I would say spouse or girlfriend or whatever it may be, if you can bring them. If you want to bring one of your family members, please do so. But join us, please, for that. It's a great opportunity, again, to represent the city of Wilmer there. Saturday is by far our busiest day. We have way too much going on, but of course, we start things off with pancakes. Thank you to the fire department for the pancake feed. That does start bright and early at 7 a.m. We love getting there as a group from the board after we've set up the parade route and the cones for that. And definitely please join us for that. The Grand Day Parade will happen at 10:30. This year, we're very excited to have Art and Annette Benson as our Grand Marshals. For those of you that know Art and Annette, they've been very involved with Wilmerfest over the years. We've got some great pictures of Art back in the day when he was part of the Knights, who went along with our royalty and our candidates. Art wearing a tuxedo and a very large black beard. It's not quite that color anymore, but he still sports that from time to time. But we're excited to have Art and Annette as part of that. The Ambassador Coronation will happen that afternoon when these three young ladies will have a chance to hand down their crowns. They say they're excited to do so, but secretly they want to keep them. Isn't that what you said, Abby? So that'll happen. The Little Cross ski team returns that evening, and of course, we'll cap things off with Works Over Water. All right, I've talked way too much. If I may, I'll turn things over to these three young ladies, and then if there are questions afterwards, we're glad to answer what we can.
My name is Brielle Thorpe, and I am the 2020-2021 Wilmerfest Aqua Princess.
My name is Maddie Stoverell, and I am the 2020-2021 International Princess.
My name's Abby Vidaris, and I'm the 2020 and 2021 Queen of Festivals.
And then we have a little slideshow that we'd like to share with you of just some memories over our year. We'll just kind of click through it, and then I think we'll share a little bit about what our favorite one was.
So this is just their 2 years as a recap.
I would have to say one of my favorite memories from Wilmerfest would probably be our holidays parade and festival kind of thing that we have, because it almost feels like Wilmer gets to have two festivals with that thrown in there. And I also think we do a really good job of decorating downtown and having a whole nother parade, and which is really cool.
My favorite thing, there's two, but my favorite is the Anoka Parade because my favorite holiday is Halloween. I love spooky and dressing up, and it's just fun to go and see what everyone comes up with their floats and their outfits, and it's just a really fun parade.
My favorite parade was the Minneapolis Aquatennial Torchlight Parade. It was at night. There was actually probably one of our biggest parades that we went to. It was the fullest parade.
And then do you guys have any questions for us at all?
Councilmember Bagley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you for participating not only 1 year, but 2 years. It looks like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been an honor.
Yeah.
You've done a great job. And this is for Jim. Rudy told me to remind you that the parade is live streamed.
Yes, it will be live streamed.
Okay, because I didn't hear that when you talked.
Oh, I forgot to mention it. He'll get me, don't worry. But yes, it is live streamed. You can listen to the parade. I will be doing commentary along with Bev Davis. We'll be doing commentary for that when it's on Saturday morning.
Thank you.
He's going to get mad at me too because I don't remember what channel it is. Is it
181.
181, thank you. Sorry, Rudy.
So as our dignitaries and the people that go and represent Wilmer, and I want to thank you for giving 2 years of your life for us. The work that you've done is exceptional. I think of a lot of the times when I was at events and I'd see you guys there and you're always smiling and always happy, and I'm going, man, why couldn't I be that happy and cheery all the time? So, but we have a lady in the back that's trying to help me with that now. So, anyways, but anyways, thank you guys for serving the 2 years and for doing so with grace, with humility, and also representing our community so well. So, I know that on Saturday when you hand over your crowns, it will be a bittersweet day. But just remember, as we have a 5-year veteran behind you, there are other tasks that can continue with Wilmerfest. And Wilmerfest is involved in so many different things. You know, when I came to Wilmer in 2000, Wilmerfest was Wilmerfest. It was the week in the summer. Well, then all of a sudden they started expanding out, and we asked them to pick up holidays, and they did that. And then we asked them to pick up Celebrate the Light of the World, and they did that. So it's an organization that gives back to our community immensely as well. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for your presentation. You're more than welcome to stay the rest of our evening to watch our proceedings go on. But we understand that you guys have busy days, and this week is a very busy week. So if you choose to excuse yourself, that's fine. We don't care. One of us will probably mark it down that you left early, but you'll get an excused absence either way. So thank you again so much for being here and representing us for the last 2 years. Look forward to this week. Thank you. Okay, next we have the consideration to rescind the declaration of local emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I had requested this to be placed on the agenda, and I'm going to have Mr. Scott go through it. And kind of what the effects of rescinding this are, and then I believe this takes 6 votes to rescind this. Is that correct?
Excuse me, Mayor, members of the council. No, this motion itself or this resolution will take. This action of the council will be a simple majority.
Okay.
Mayor, members of the council, this is, I think, a happy agenda item to consider rescinding the City Council's declaration of local emergency. That declaration by the mayor and action to affirm the declaration by the City Council was all conducted in one resolution passed last year on March 16th. That was right at the very outset of the pandemic, both nationally and statewide. That resolution really accomplished a couple things. It broadly established some procedures for city staff to adjust city operations as necessary, make adjustments to personnel policies as necessary, and to review and bring forward recommendations for changes or new ordinances and regulations, all as necessary to respond to the kind of rapidly changing at times public health emergency in the state and locally in Candiota County. The resolution also directed staff and the mayor as appropriate to seek and request emergency aid to reimburse the city for any emergency-related expenses that the city incurred in responding to the public health emergency. And it also established, as I'm sure you're well aware, the protocol for virtual meetings of the city council, which then later became hybrid meetings that allowed some elected officials or members of the public to participate in meetings remotely. And even for the public to attend public hearings by calling in or attending the virtual web meetings. Rescinding this emergency now, in addition to, I think, just the symbolic importance of doing that, would have a couple of concrete effects. It would, first and foremost, it would formally rescind the city council's policy of allowing hybrid meetings and allowing public participation in public hearings by telephone or video connection. It would not have any impact on any city applications for funding, whether from state sources or federal sources. That's all been kind of wrapped into the statewide processes that cities have followed. I think as best I understand, most of the city operations have already kind of returned to a default state of normalcy. So I don't think rescinding this resolution will have a noticeable impact on city operations at this stage. It will have one concrete effect, which we will also get to in the next agenda item, which is it will cause the emergency ordinance that allows expanded private use of city-owned property and city-owned rights of way to terminate. That emergency ordinance was tied, it was temporary, and it was tied to the date on which the local emergency declaration was rescinded. So by rescinding the declaration, that emergency ordinance will terminate. As you'll see in the next agenda item, the recommendation will be to pass a new version of that ordinance, which is then tied to the governor's statewide declaration of a peacetime emergency. In the mayor's judgment, the outdoor use of the public rights of way has been positive and continues to be a necessary response to the kind of lingering effects of the pandemic. So with that, the action recommended by the mayor at this point is for the city council to rescind City Council Resolution 2020-044, which passed on March 16th, 2020, which declared the local emergency in the city of Wilmer due to the COVID-19 pandemic until such time as the City Council acts to rescind it. And that's the action requested of you tonight.
So council, these are my recommendations, is that we rescind this. Worked with staff over the last week to get this, last 2 weeks to get this pulled back out. As our city attorney has stated, I heard from the council loud and clear that you wanted to continue with the outdoor dining piece on the sidewalks and roadways. And so that's why we included the next resolution right behind it. So this one simply removes the local emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic, rescinds that emergency order. So I would stand for any questions, as would Mr. Scott. Councilmember Nelson.
I'm not opposed to rescinding this, but I am opposed to not having the option for hybrid meetings. I would express a concern regarding that. Most organizations that I have been attending, whether it's on a state level or even local, still have that option for people to do that. And I look at this table and recognize that a majority of us have chosen to use that for one reason or another. And I'm just concerned that with the number of meetings that we may need to have or call special meetings, that we would have that option. And also for that option to be available to the public. You know, I appreciate where we are at with the pandemic. However, if you look at Candiota County numbers, I think the last I saw, we were only 53% vaccinated. And there are people who are still afraid to be out and about, and to limit them from being able to be at the meeting, or if a council member needs to not be here for a meeting, I'd rather have the option to have them be able to attend in a hybrid meeting for us to have full participation and be able to make decisions than not to do that. So is there a way to have a second resolution to continue with hybrid meetings? That was something we had had a conversation about long before COVID, with just the flexibility of someone being able to attend. And I'm not sure that staff has ever pulled it off technology-wise, and maybe they can here, but I guess I'd like to, for the community and for all of us, I'd like to see us be able to continue with that hybrid option.
Councilmember Nelson, I think that's certainly a simple motion in between these two motions to still allow a hybrid option for attendance certainly would be in order, would be certainly something that could be done. The call-in option, that ends up being, because we have to have staff here, we have to have staff back at the office. So to get it so that we can have those public hearings as a call-in option is more troublesome. So for us as council members to attend remotely is fairly simple. From what I've been told from staff, both from Mr. Gramitz, I guess I haven't talked to Mr. Herron about it, but from Mr. Gramitz's point of view, it's always a very labor-intensive thing. And as we've seen just recently, 2 meetings ago, we had problems with our technology where people couldn't get called in and those types of things. So I think for the council to be able to continue doing the hybrid option, I think would work. I would have a little bit more concern about continuing our public hearings as in a public manner that way. That's my thoughts.
I'm willing to make that motion to do that. However, I've also taken complaints about just the lack of, we stop public forum, and sometimes certain people get to speak, but other times it's not an open process. And so, I know that people would like to see the public forum. And, that's a different question. I'll settle for the hybrid meeting right now. And just the option, I don't think we have as many needs for the public when we have the call-ins. I don't think we have as many as those as we might have just general questions. So
yeah, I just want to respond to the comment about not allowing people to speak. I haven't had anybody ask me that they wanted to speak at a council meeting. I have not allowed that. If anybody in the public who wishes to speak at one of our meetings, certainly talk to the administrator, talk to myself. We'll allow anybody who wishes to speak in any agenda item, as I've stated before. Get it to the administrator, and we'll get any agenda item on. I have not personally blocked any agenda items from coming to the council. So with that, Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that any of us can currently, or even without a separate motion to attend a hybrid meeting, could attend remotely. The open meeting law allows for that. Am I correct, Mr. Scott?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember asked, the open meeting law does allow elected officials to attend by video connection as long as the person attending remotely can see the council and the council can see the person, which at this point the technology is, you're all very familiar with it. So that continues to be an option for elected officials. To Councilmember Nelson's comments, I think the City Council has wide discretion to continue to allow public participation in your public hearings through whichever or all of the various options to do that, whether it's phone or through the GoToMeeting technology. I know that's a separate motion probably, but.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, to piggyback on Councilmember Oss, I remember we talked about this when we were at the MUC building, and you had told us if you went on vacation, what you had to do. You had to put a public notice on the door there, keep the door open. Yeah, so it is available.
Additional comments or questions? Okay, this is a simple majority vote. Consider to rescind the declaration of local emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Additional discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion does carry. Councilmember Nelson.
I would like to make a motion, I don't know the correct wording of it, to continue to have available for hybrid meetings.
Do it? That do it?
I think that does it. I would ask maybe one clarifying question. Is the motion intended to cover only public participation in public hearings as opposed, well, is that the intent of the motion?
No, if I understand correctly, we have some complications with that, or technology projects. I would like it, I think, to be available for both council members and staff and presentation kinds of things. If we need to look at a different option for our public hearings, I would suggest we do that. So I'm fine with just hybrid meetings for council, staff, and attendees, or presenters.
Presenters.
Is that the right word?
Presentations?
Yeah.
Make sense?
That works for me.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Osk.
Why would this be necessary? What does this change from what we currently are allowed to do and have been allowed to do for quite a while?
I think the motion stands in order because we've had the option to do it, but it hasn't given the direction to staff to make it happen. And I think what this does is it formally, and I don't want to speak for Councilmember Nelson, but what it does in my mind is it gives us a formality that allows us to do it, and it's in a more formal manner rather than an informal manner, where the state statute allows it. This is bringing it to a local level. So I think that the motion is in order, and I think that the motion adds clarity to the way we want to do business in a transparent manner. From the mayor's office, I support the motion. Councilmember Nelson.
We worked on being able to do it the other way also, but you have to literally be in a public area and post that you are participating in a public meeting. So you can't do it from your hotel room or from your home or wherever. You have to have certain parameters to do that. And technology-wise, I think the times that it was asked, we've never been able to pull it off. So whether that's can be improved, so down the road that's an option, a true option for us. I think this just clarifies for both staff and council members that it's an open process.
Additional comments or questions? Councilman, I almost elected you again.
Yeah, please no.
Exactly. City Attorney Scott.
Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to clarify one, because I think the question was a good question about what this motion would change. And if you go back before the pandemic, the city council and the mayor, the elected officials did have the opportunity under the open meeting law as it existed to attend by video connection. That has some of the restrictions that Councilmember Nelson mentioned. You pretty much could do it anywhere. You just could not exclude anyone from the public who might really want to watch the individual participating remotely participate in the meeting, which you can think of some kind of weird extremes there, but it does have more restrictions. When the pandemic hit, there's a separate provision in the open meeting law that allows a lot more flexibility, and that allows the purely online meetings that the council conducted for quite a while. It allows the hybrid meetings. And I do think at least so long as the statewide peacetime emergency continues, the council is well within its authority to continue allowing that kind of meeting to occur. At some point, we'll probably get to past the point where the pandemic statute applies, and you would have to go back to the more cumbersome method for any elected official to participate remotely. But I don't think we're there yet.
Just for comments or questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have a consideration of an emergency ordinance to allow for temporary commercial use of public properties. Mr. Scott.
Thank you again, Mayor, members of the council. As mentioned in the previous agenda item, the rescission of the local emergency declaration had the effect of terminating the emergency ordinance allowing expanded use by private businesses of city property and city rights of way. That's been an emergency ordinance the city passed initially last May, I believe, and has renewed several times since then. And I believe staff's, as well as the mayor's recommendation, is that the council simply adopt a new emergency ordinance with the same terms and conditions. This would again be a temporary ordinance that would expire 60 days from now. The only change would be would not be tied to the declaration of local emergency. It would be tied to the statewide peacetime emergency declared by Governor Walz. So this ordinance would keep in place the program the city established last year for another 60 days or until the statewide peacetime emergency is rescinded. This is an emergency ordinance under charter. It requires 6 votes of the city council to pass.
Okay, again, this is a emergency order, which takes 6 votes. And the first order of business would be to adopt the ordinance, assign it a number, and publish it.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
And I see Julie Osmus, Councilmember Osmus has arrived, so I would ask for her vote on this. Councilmember Osmus?
Proceed.
Must be some, pardon me?
Proceed.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we need a resolution to publish by summary.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the resolution by summary. I believe we have Councilmember Osmus with us now. Roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Proceed.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien. 6 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Again, as we have been requested in the past, make sure that we make that available on the city website and all other avenues as Councilmember Meskey, former Councilmember Meskey used to ask us to do. Next, we have a consideration of local option sales tax budgets. First is a resolution to adopt final budget for Robbins Island projects, and I'll call on our finance director, Mr. Okens. Mr. Okens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is kind of an exciting time. We have 4 budgets for you tonight, actually, for the 4 projects since the council at their previous meeting approved and guaranteed maximum price contracts with Marcus Construction for 3 out of the 4 budgets that we have here. These are 4 out of the 6 projects that were approved by the citizens for the local option sales tax. We will handle them individually. The first 2 that we will talk about, we have already bonded for, so the action on the budget will just be to approve a final budget since final contract amounts and the guaranteed maximum price has been approved. The final 2 that we will talk about will enable staff to start the budgeting process similar to the 2021 street program, and we'll be able to do that at the same time that will save some money as far as issuing costs. If I could take the opportunity, Mr. Mayor, An email did go out, as well as in the financial report for local option sales tax previous in your agenda. There are some positive notes that we have sent out to the council and to the Invest in Wilmer group. I think it's worthy to maybe mention them tonight as well. The last month collections were at $224,000, a little less than $224,000, which was 37% increase over that same time period last year, which is a good positive sign. It was also the second largest month of collections that we've received, only behind August of 2020, which was the catch-up month. If you recall, businesses were able to defer a couple months of their sales tax collections as we were in the pandemic. And so technically, it really has been the highest month of collections that we received to date. The collections, this same time frame from November through April, is a 16% increase over this same time frame a year earlier. And the monthly average for that same time frame of November through April of 21 is 192,000 compared to 166,000 for that same time frame during the pandemic. So signs are indicating that as we're coming out of the pandemic, there are some increases in the collections, which will be beneficial. The overall collection, since that was lower during the pandemic, is 183,000 from the beginning of the collection of the sales tax. Also, Candiway County has a 5.5% transit tax that we do comparisons with as far as the city collections as well as other communities, and 68% of that transit tax is generated in the city of Wilmer. So those were some facts that we did send out. They're encouraging on increasing of the collections, and with these 4 projects, the only 2 remaining will be the community center of $2 million that's been authorized, as well as some storm sewer work, a maximum of $7 million, and we have done some stormwater work, and that it will be addressed in the capital improvement program throughout the budget process as we work through that. So with that, Mr. Mayor, we have 4 resolutions for you tonight. The first one is a resolution to adopt the final budget for Robbins Island. And there is a small typographical error on that. On line number 49, that should read $24,375. It's a $300 typographical error. The maximum amount allowed by statute is $3 million, and so that would change the grand total of that budget to $3 million. So our recommendation is just for the council to pass this resolution.
I'll enter a motion to adopt the resolution for the final budget for Robbins Island project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the final budget for Robbins Island at $3 million. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Finance Director Okens.
The second resolution, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is for the Swanson Field project. That project also, the council just previously accepted the guaranteed maximum price with Marcus Construction as the construction manager. Those numbers reflect that action by the council. On line 39 of all these budgets is where the contingency amount for these projects is listed. And as we proceed through the projects, the council will be able to take action if it's determined that that contingency is not needed, and be able to allocate those dollars either for the projects as they're listed, or by statute, you can have a 10% deviation to other projects. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, the Swanson Field budget as presented in the amount of $2 million.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Swanson Field budget at $2 million. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Finance Director Olkins.
Now, Mr. Mayor, the final two budgets that we'll be addressing will, again, as I mentioned earlier, allow staff to start the process to initiate bond sales to finance these two projects, along with, at the same time as the 2021 street improvement budgets that you approved at your last meeting. The first one is for the recreational fields. Again, a guaranteed maximum price contract was approved with Marcus Construction in the amount of $5,223,000. The contingency listed there is $420,000, and the total budget recommended to be approved is in the amount of $6 million, which complies with the statute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the final budget for recreation fields in the amount of $6 million. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, Finance Director Olkins.
The final budget, Mr. Mayor, is for the Event and Recreational Center. Again, the council has approved a guaranteed maximum price contract with the Marcus Construction as a construction manager at a little under $8.5 million. There's a $500 contingency there. The other item that I would like to point out on this budget is under the other charges. That is the remaining amount that is below the maximum amount of the allowed statute amount of $10 million, $447,000 roughly, that the council will have authority to appropriate as we move through the process. The recommendation is to bond for the full $10 million, which then would allow the council to, again, as we move through the process, allocate those dollars and not have to go back out into the bond market and sell a smaller issue. So that budget, again, recommended at the statutory limit of $10 million for the Event Recreational Center.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve $10 million budget for the Event and Recreation Project. Discussion. Roll call. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Finance Director Olkins, I want to thank you for your work on this. The way my math comes out is we have about 1.228 million in contingencies on all of these projects. And so it's nice to see that we do have those contingencies built in. And thank you for your leadership in making that happen.
Mr. Mayor, yes, you're correct in the contingency amount, and also I'd like to point out that excess amount that's available under the Event Recreational Center of 400 and some thousand. So the total is somewhere around $1.7 million that the council will have to appropriate and determine some other costs if the contingencies aren't needed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next, the consideration of an agreement to resurface the fire department apparatus bay floors. Chief Hansen.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you tonight, I bring a resolution asking to approve the resurfacing of the apparatus bay floor of the fire department. Background on this, the fire department floor was last resurfaced approximately 2006. It gets used heavily by the fire trucks and by other events. It has seen some major wear and tear over these past 15 years. And it's time to move forward and get it resurfaced again before we start seeing major damage to it. We had two companies. We got quotes from two companies. One is Swede Bros out of Ham Lake for $27,750. And then we also got a quote from TMI Coatings out of St. Paul, which is actually the state contract. And you'll see a huge difference of $206,700. I questioned them on that, and they said that the state contract doesn't cover anything this large. This is for real small floors, so they have to charge their normal fees for it. This project was budgeted in the 2020 CIP, but was put on hold because of unknown local state aid at that time. Prior to Administrator Gramit's leaving, he gave us permission to bring it forward, and I am requesting your approval of a resolution to accept the Swede Bros bid of Ham Lake for not to exceed the budget amount of $38,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the resurfacing agreement for the fire apparatus bay floor. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Ask,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Thank you, Chief. Next, we have consideration of school resource officer agreement for 21-22 school years with our local school district. Chief Felt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Item before you tonight is consideration of a resolution to approve the school resource officer agreement with the Wilmer School District for the 2021-2022 school year. A little bit of history: the Wilmer Police Department has partnered with the Wilmer Schools since 1994 to provide school resource officer services. It went initially from 1 school resource officer to now we have 3 3/4 officers working at the schools, the high school, middle school, area learning center, and the 3 elementary schools. And speaking with Dr. Holm and the school staff about the contract, they would like a 1-year contract because there are a lot of unknowns with COVID and school enrollment coming up in the future. This will give them a better idea on finances for future agreements. We reached an agreement of a 2.5% increase from last year's, which would be a reimbursement to the city of Wilmer of $221,465.87 for school resource officer services for the coming year, if approved by the council.
Council, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made, motion by O'Brien, seconded by Nelson, to approve school resource officer agreement for the school year 21-22. Discussion.
I just want to say that
Councilmember O'Brien.
the time that I've spent in the school, and it's, the resource officers, I mean, I can't say enough about how important they are. And what's really, I think people don't understand is how the students like them. Because I've seen such great relationships between the the students and the officers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Felt, are we up to speed with all of our police officers, or are we short some yet?
Right now, we're at a deficit of 3, but we're going through the hiring process right now that we hope, if our 3 top candidates successfully complete their psychological and doctor's physicals, to potentially start them in August, which means by December they hopefully will have the keys to the car and driving around taking calls by themselves.
Okay, so taking these 3 in a quarter or whatever from off the street isn't gonna hurt us?
Correct. Yes, we've built in some scheduling contingencies for that shortage in the meantime.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Aye.
Ask,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. We did hear you that time, Julie. Sounds good. So, Chief, could you just give us just a brief synopsis? I know a number of us had a number of calls about the racetrack, so I'm not looking at a long dissertation, just very short.
Sure. In short, some concerns that were brought up to the police department also was that at the races this past week, there was an informal agreement that had lasted for several years about on school nights the races would end at 10:30. On non-school nights the races would end at 10:45. Some of the callers said that the races lasted until 11:30 the other night. My understanding is it was a special benefit race for I believe it was a racer, and probably double the number of cars showed up for the race as normally would. I've had conversations with members of the fair board. I tried to get a hold of somebody from Candy Racing and was unable to, but there's been some assurances that in the future that they will continue to abide by that, the gentleman's agreement that was reached several years ago.
Thank you. I just want to thank you and your officers for the good job of addressing that rather quickly. Administrator Herron got on top of it right away too, as soon as the calls started coming in on Friday morning. So the fair is great. The races are great for our community. They're a real asset. I took my wife. Our first date was to the races. So, I mean, the races are a little bit near and dear to me, or I wouldn't have a wife probably. But thank you for looking into that, and I know that you'll be briefing us as it goes along. But I just thought the public should know that there were some concerns, and they are being addressed. We're not just sweeping them under the rug, so to speak.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next, we have local option sales tax fees. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is something of a cleanup item. It was brought to my attention that the city council, my recollection had been the city council had essentially taken this action previously to waive city fees, so fees that the city would essentially pay itself for plan review, water and sewer access charges, building permit fees, for example, for the local option sales tax projects. Staff in administering these projects noticed in the minutes that at previous council meetings, when this item came up, it had been tabled, and it appears from our review that the city council never formally took action to approve those waivers. So before you is a resolution to basically document that city action. Staff has been administering the projects consistent with the direction and the actions enumerated in this resolution. But they are to essentially waive those fees payable to the city until such time as the city determines otherwise by resolution that there are sufficient funds collected from the local option sales tax to essentially reimburse this itself for those fees. And then secondly, that the state portion, the surcharge on any building permit fee, continue to be collected and paid to the state as a requirement of statute. Finally, like city permit and other fees, attorney's fees incurred by the city for contract review and other services connected to the local option sales tax projects under this resolution would also be excluded from the project budgets, at least until such time as the council determines that there are sufficient funds collected to reimburse itself for the attorney's fees. I would certainly welcome any questions, but I think that's the summary of the resolution in your packet, which again, I believe is consistent with the council's discussion previously of this item.
So we'd need a motion to remove from the table. Is there a motion?
I can make that motion to remove from the table the item to waive legal fees, legal costs, and city permit fees.
Is there a second to that motion? Motion been made and seconded to remove it from the table. Roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Davis. Aye. Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion passes. Next, we have a resolution to consider exempting sales tax projects from all legal, water, whack and sack fees, and city permit fees, with the exception of the state permit fees, which still need to be paid.
I'll enter that resolution.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there a discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. I had thought that we had handled that in the past, and thank you to whoever found that. Talking with Councilmember Nelson before, she thought we had also handled that, but it's better to do it twice than not do it once. So with that, we got that done. So next we have a consideration for special inspections and testing for the Events and Recreation Center. Mr. Baumgartner.
Good evening, Mayor, member of the council. This is to adopt a resolution approving Braun Intertech cooperation proposal to provide special inspection and testing for the Event and Recreation Center for the amount of $37,021. This is part of your packet with the city costs, with the budget that we have that Marcus has provided us. It is also the recommendation of Marcus and LSE to provide for Braun to be doing the special testing for the event center.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve special inspections and testing to Braun Intertech for the Events and Recreation Center. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Bagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
And Councilmember Plowman has arrived.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we have consideration of a lease with Wings of Hope for the installation of a granite monument.
Yes, Mayor, member of the council, tonight is to recommend the City Council of Wilmer to adopt a resolution approving the agreement with the Wings of Hope to install a granite monument. Staff have gone out and met with the group that would like to put the monument out at the Angel of Hope. We looked at the sidewalk area. We have a location determined. Ray Stingland, who's the president of the group, will be providing all the work and all the labor and all the materials for it. So it'll be another addition to the Angel of Hope's memorial.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the lease with Wings of Hope for installation of a granite monument. Discussion.
I'd just like to say thank you for all the work they do. I've had the chance to work with Wings of Hope, and they do some great, great work.
Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next, we have an exciting opportunity in front of us to consider setting an interview for city administrator finalists for tomorrow. And Patty, glad to see you back in Wilmer again. I see your car made it from Prior Lake back here, so that's good news. So I think you have some exciting news for us. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you at this time.
Perfect. Mayor, members of the council, it is an honor to be back here. I want to give you a little update on where we are with the hiring of the city administrator. Once the candidate, which was Dana, that was offered the position, he did accept, but then he did need to turn it down. Through the process, this position has been open until filled. That is how it has been advertised. When that happened, I did get several calls, and I was out recruiting along with our team, out recruiting candidates for the position. There is a candidate that I would like to present to you tonight. This candidate is very highly qualified to be interviewed. And just a little bit about this candidate before you decide if you would like to have this person move forward. This candidate has a degree in accounting and business administration, has a certificate in human resources generalist. This candidate has 39 years of experience working at cities in Minnesota. Of that, 12 years has been as a city administrator. I took some time. This individual went through the same vetting process as all the other candidates that were highly qualified that came forward for your review. Criminal background check has been done. All of those materials are in the HR department, and everything is clean. If you were to move forward, which I highly recommend that you interview this candidate tomorrow, I have tentatively have a schedule, if you're in agreement, that this candidate would interview at 2 o'clock, starting with the Chamber of Commerce interview. This is going to be a very similar process as what was done in the past. They don't know who the candidate is until you guys decide to move this candidate forward. They will then get the resume and cover letter and the Survey Monkey for them to fill out tomorrow morning. At 3 o'clock, the same thing will happen. It'll be the interview with the leadership of the staff of the city from 3 to 3:45. And then from 4 to 5, there will be a tour that will be conducted with the EDC. And then at 5:30 to 6:30, a dinner with the mayor and the city council. And then 7 o'clock, there would be a formal interview with this candidate at 7 o'clock at the right here, tomorrow night. Very similar in the process. And I do ask if you would move forward with the candidate. If you do decide to move forward, resume, cover letter, and a photo will be given to the press, the radio, and put it out on the website as soon as you move forward. Once you move forward with that candidate name is become public.
Mr. Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about how the naming, how we're waiting until tonight to do the naming because of it requires an action of the council, not of the search firm?
Sure, Mayor, members of the council, under the Minnesota Data Practices Act, there are specific provisions on what data regarding applicants for employment with the city are public and which are private. Generally, the type of basic information shared with you already in the presentation of this item are considered public. The name of the candidate is not public until such time as the authority that is going to make the hire, make the appointment, selects the candidate for an interview in person. And that would be the city council in this case. So it is your decision to move forward with the interview in this meeting that would, under the statute, have the effect of making the candidate's name public.
Thank you. So council, in front of us, as Patty has told us, we have a very qualified candidate. One of the things that you asked for when we were meeting was that you wanted a candidate that had experience in Minnesota. You wanted a candidate that had local experience. You wanted a candidate that knew the city a little bit, if you will. And so I think we brought that, or Baker Tilly has brought that candidate to you for your consideration this evening. So with that, council, is there a motion to bring the candidate forward?
I would make a motion to set the interview for city administrator finalists for June 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does pass. Patty, would you like to name the finalists, please?
Yes, it is Leslie Vallant. She's the current city administrator at the city of Spicer. Not too far away from here. She is very familiar with the city. Just a little bit of organizations that she belongs to. And I'm going to name them so people understand what they are. She's a member of the Minnesota City, County Managers and Administrators. She's a member of the Minnesota Government Finance Officers Association, the Municipal Clerks and Finance Officer Association of Minnesota, the Wilmer Lakes Area Vision 2040 Steering Committee, and she's also a member in the Vision 2040 Project Review Committee. Very familiar with the community and very highly qualified to be interviewed.
Council members want to make any comments? Okay. With that, I look forward to...
I have one comment.
Councilmember O'Brien.
You know, we've put out for quite some time looking for a candidate. Why did she wait till now?
That's a very good question. Sometimes it has to do with timing and things that are going on in their own city that they have to complete before they're ready to move on. And that happens, and we find that it has to be the right time, especially during COVID. We found a lot of administrators not moving on because there was so much uncertainty with the pandemic that they chose that they wanted to stay back until they understood what was going to happen and the impacts and things that were happening. And the same kind of situation happened that there were so many things going on with the city, and now was a good time for her to apply. Very good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Any council members have any good of the order comments? I know Council Member O'Brien had sent me one, so if you want to share that, that'd be great.
Well, we've had some issues on our road out in front of our house, and there's been holes where people have tripped or bikes have been hitting and stuff like that weren't marked. And I made a call to the city, and within an hour, they were there patching it up. So it's a good job.
Good job.
Very good job.
Anything else for the good of the order? I hope we're going to get a report on that baseball team. But
That's what I was gonna say.
okay, I know the hotels were full.
They were full. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, they had 59 teams.
Wow.
So, and they came from Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, and the Metro. We had a lot of Metro teams here. And the club did an excellent job. They paid out like $8,000 in umpire fees. So it was a good tournament, no problems, and I think we'll have a bunch of teams back next year again.
Excellent.
One long one.
Pardon?
One long game.
Well, it was a long Friday and a Saturday and.
One went 6 innings.
6 extra innings.
Yeah.
Total of 12 then.
Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. Again, kudos to our staff for the work that you do, making that all happen. That doesn't happen by accident. So, thank you very much. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. We are adjourned.